It's our town. Everybody scream in this town of Halloween.
Hello everyone and welcome to day 5 of Terrorthon. Today we're going to be telling a true story and you're going to find it incredibly distressing if you're not familiar with it, so there's your warning. Today we're talking about Jonestown. It was a commune that existed in Guyana in the 1970s and it came to a very tragic end, to say the least. So our story begins in Indianapolis, 1955. Preacher Jim Jones starts what he calls the People's Temple. It was purportedly a religion, but it would be more accurate to call it a cult. They held Christian revival, Marxist and socialist values very close. Jim Jones, even from a very early age, had an interest in dictators such as Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin and Mao Zedong, and he believed Joseph Stalin and Vladimir Lenin to be his heroes. He visited the country of Guyana during one of these temple missions in the early 1960s, and due to increasing media scrutiny of the People's Temple and their practices and values, it was decided that they would go on an agricultural mission to Guyana. The Guyana government were at the time fearing a military incursion from Venezuela, so they allowed a bunch of Americans, i.e. the People's Temple, to build this commune near the disputed border. 500 members emigrated to Guyana to construct Jonestown, which was 150 miles from the Guyanan capital, Georgetown. But there was one major problem. The soil there was infertile, so it was going to be very difficult for Jonestown to be self-sufficient. Upon returning to America, Jim Jones sold Jonestown as a socialist paradise and a sanctuary. And then, in the summer of 1977, almost 1,000 temple members, including their children, moved to Jonestown. Life was quite good for the first couple of weeks, but then when Jim Jones himself arrived at Jonestown, life changed drastically. There were speakers placed all around the commune which broadcast Jim Jones' voice 24/7. Whether he was reading the news or delivering sermons, there was no escaping his voice. It was very much a brainwashing exercise. Due to the infertile soil, everyone apart from Jim Jones and his closest companions lived on a diet of rice, beans, and occasionally meat, sauce, and eggs. And members would work from 6:30 in the morning until 6:30 p.m. 6 days a week, and then would immediately attend classes on socialism and would listen to Jones deliver his sermons all the way up to 3 a.m. or possibly even later. Hundreds of these recordings have been preserved and you can find them all online. They were warned very strictly about leaving, that there were mercenaries in the jungle, the defectors from the People's Temple looking to assassinate the entirety of Jonestown. And if they did try to escape and got past the mercenaries, they were surrounded by miles upon miles of jungle. The nearest water source was 7 miles away, and if any members stepped out of line, they would be subjected to brutal punishments, such as being left at the bottom of a well overnight, sometimes even upside down. No news or any form of entertainment media was allowed into Jonestown without being pre-screened and analysed first. Again, all part of a brainwashing exercise and for behavioural control as well. Often, towards the end of Jonestown's life cycle, Jim Jones would hold what he called white nights. So sirens would be played over the speakers and every member of Jonestown had to gather at the pavilion in the centre. These would happen more and more frequently as Jim Jones' mental health deteriorated. He would tell the members about all of these enemies that he'd essentially invented just to scare them, and would give them 4 options as to what they could do. And one of those was what he called revolutionary suicide, where they would take drinks that were poisoned and all would die. But every single time, these drinks were not actually poisoned. These were tests of loyalty. Scrutiny of Jonestown continued as many family members back in America hadn't heard from people still in the commune. And this all came to a head when American Congressman Leo Ryan visited Jonestown. Jim Jones knew far in advance that this would happen, so he had prepared all of the members to lie when they were asked, are they happy in Jonestown? Is there anything they would change? So on and so forth. But when Congressman Ryan actually arrived, one of the Jonestown members slipped the NBC crew a note who had come to record the entire thing, saying that they wanted out of Jonestown. And Leo Ryan accommodated them, taking them back to the planes to get them back home to America safely. Unfortunately, Jim Jones sent gunmen to gun them all down, and while there were many survivors, Congressman Leo Ryan and many members of the NBC crew were killed. All of this was captured on video in the cameraman's final moments and afterwards. Now that Jim Jones knew the jig was up and that Jonestown would most certainly be raided and all of its members exonerated, he held the first real white night. Vats of the soft drink Flavor Aid were laced with cyanide, and Jim Jones encouraged all of the members to drink it and kill themselves, which unfortunately they did. Over 900 people committed suicide that day, over a third of them children, and this is where the expression drinking the Kool-Aid comes from. All of this was also captured on an audio recording which is online, but if you have any plans of sleeping tonight, I do not recommend listening to it. Now, this video has already gone on incredibly long, and I absolutely have only scratched the surface of the tragic tale of Jonestown. If you'd like to look into it more, there's a lot of stuff out there. Lots of recordings you can listen to, documentaries, it's all out there. May all of the people of Jonestown rest in peace. It's one of the greatest tragedies in modern history. See you tomorrow.